Yo, 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 yo. What's going on, man? Today is January the 7th. My fault. Today is June the 7th, 2023. It's your boy Chris, and this is not the Crispy Cap and NBA show. This is probably should have changed it, but it's all good. We just here to talk, chop it up, talk about basketball. The overlay don't even really matter for real, for real. Just put the old one back. Because it's not the Crispy Cap and NBA show. The Crispy Cap and NBA show will be live a little bit later this evening, but I wanted to make a video because I've been kind of quiet, man. I've been kind of chilling, just kind of sitting back, doing some other things in life, not really focusing in on sports gambling. With the NBA finals being the games being so far apart, so um, first and foremost, I want to do a quick recap before we jump into game three. Quick recap. Game two, I was on Denver team total over 111.5. Rolled this one back from 112.5 from game one, which we also lost on. So overall in the playoffs, just 1-2. Overall, we hit Denver minus the 8.5 in game one, then game and loss on the team total going over. They just kind of didn't need to score as much in that game. And then of course, in game three, we just saw Miami kind of muck up the game, which is one of the ways that they kind of won the game as well. Denver also just didn't shoot well. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray didn't have the greatest shooting game. KCP has been kind of MIA. And it was really Jokic that was just kind of left out there with the some of the defensive adjustments that Spoelstra threw, making Jamal Murray a little less inefficient, putting Jimmy Butler on him, et cetera, et cetera. So 0-1 day from Sunday, I think it was. So jump back into it. Game three today is hit the like button for me if you guys can as well. Game three is later on this evening. We got the Nuggets laying 2.5 points as road favorites. Total sitting at 214.5 right now as well. Total has already come down some. And I'm going to address all of this, right? I'm going to address the side. I'm going to address the total. I'm going to address player props. And then I'll leave you guys with my best bets as well. So let's jump into the side first. Let's jump a little bit into the side first. So in game two, we saw the Miami Heat execute a really good sound game plan. The game plan was clearly to make a bunch of threes, which is the way the Miami Heat wins the games. They shot 48.6% from the 3-point line, hit 17 to 35 threes. It was the sixth time that they've done so all of the playoffs. They've shot above 48% from the 3-point line. And it's crazy because the Heat continue to do this, right? We continue to say it's outlier games. They've now become only one of four teams in NBA history to shoot above 48% from three on a minimum of 35 attempts in a playoff game, which is what they did in game two. Do we see that same success tonight in Miami in a return? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I think, you look at what Denver what Miami was able to do, and I think you can't take anything away from them. You can't, right? Spoelstra is a genius. He kind of manipulates things and can slow the game down at different times with different defenses. But now Mike Malone and that coaching staff has had a couple days to kind of make their adjustments. And also, let's not even talk about the adjustment part. Let's talk about the effort part, right? That was the big message for Coach Michael Malone and towards his team afterwards is how do we come in here and let them out effort us, right? Like, and when I say effort, I mean like effort on the defensive end, right? I mean like attention to detail, right? How not being locked in for a finals game, knowing that the Heat were going to come in game two and trying to steal one, and we saw a bunch of different defensive lapses, right, from the 3-point line. Gabe Vincent to start the game, hitting a couple threes to start the game early. Denver's bench played well in the second quarter to kind of give them the lead and kind of recover. But then you see Miami, start to muck up the game. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the mucking up of the game in just a tad bit when I touch on the total. But I do think that Denver is the right side in this game. I think that they are going to be challenged by the message that they got from their coach. And I think that they're going to be a little bit more locked in, a little bit more focused, a little more attention to detail. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, so I'm not going to play any player props, but I do got a couple looks that if I was gambling on player props, maybe I will. Maybe I'll put quarter unit, something small on some of these player props. But I think the Denver Nuggets bounce back in a big way today. and especially early, right? Denver first quarter, I think, is a really, really good look. They've been the best first quarter team of these two teams. Miami typically gets punched in the mouth early, then they make their adjustments and they come back and play well in the second half. I don't think they mean to do so, but I do expect the intensity level for Denver, to be at an all-time high. They say that the series doesn't start until the road team steals a game or until the home team loses a game, and now it's definitely a series. I think my Denver hadn't lost. I want to say in about a month, which is crazy because you got to think a month as far as calendar days. They swept the Lakers, and then had a long time off while Miami was trying to take care of Boston in the last round. So they hadn't lost a game, in about a month, which is a very long time. In the finals, the playoff run, you have to be locked in. This is a lot of these guys' first time, actually being here. So I say all that to say that, sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth in order to punch back. Also, outliers, right? And Miami continues to shoot the ball as well. We know that. But the Miami 3-point shooting and just defense in general, well, offense in general in the fourth quarter, the Heat scored 36 points on 19 possessions in the fourth quarter. That was an offensive rating of 189.5 points per 100 possessions, which is the most efficient quarter of any team in the last two seasons of 2,640 games. So that's what, 5,280 different teams, and none of those teams have had an offensive rating of 189.5. They were able to squeak away and win the game on a Jamal Murray missed three-pointer. So I don't think that those things come back to fruition. I do think that, and I'll talk a little bit more about this when I talk about the player props. I do think that Spoelstra is going to continue to play Jokic one-on-one, and Jokic is going to have to beat them so you can kind of limit the amount of assists. Jokic only had 4 assists for the people who don't know, and he had 11 potential assists after having 17 potential assists in game one. So I do think that Spoelstra is going to limit the amount of them getting everybody else involved. That may be something that Jamal Murray has to do a little bit more. But I do trust Michael Malone and his coaching staff to be able to figure that out as well. So Denver first quarter, I'm playing that for half unit. Denver first half, I'd expect them to have the lead at halftime as well. I'm playing that for half a unit. And both of those numbers are half a point. So I just need Denver to be winning by 1 at the end of the first quarter, at the end of the first half. As the game goes on, I do expect Miami to make a run. I do expect Denver to be poised, to be a lot more locked in, focused on the task at hand, which is winning this game. And I do think that if they win the game, they will cover the short 2.5 point spread. So I did lay the 2.5 points with Denver as well. 1 unit play there. So half unit, full unit. First quarter, first half, full game. And now I want to talk a little bit about also, for my extreme bettors, right? Guys like looking to do something, just a tad bit crazy. I did play Denver minus 4.5 as well. I don't think that this game's necessarily going to be extremely close. I think Denver at some point has to realize that they keep losing the fourth quarter of these games. And, that is Miami kind of changing up and going to that zone defense that was a little more effective in game 2 than it was in game 1 in the fourth quarter. And I think I trust Denver to be able to figure it out. I really, really do. If they let me down here, maybe I back Miami in game 4, but I think Denver should come out here and do what they're supposed to do. So I played Denver first quarter minus the 0.5, minus the half a point. Same thing with the first half, minus the half point. Denver full game minus the 2.5. And I put a little something on Denver minus 4.5 as well. I think I got it at plus 180, something like that when the line was, I think it still was at 2 at that time in favor of Denver. So moving along, that's the side. As far as the total, 214.5. We see the total trickle down from 216.5 is what it opened at. So current number 214.5, and it came down immediately. This was right after the game ended. The last game was a struggle to get to the over. I think the last total was 216.5. I want to say it went to 2. That game finished at 219. I think it was 111 to 109. I do think that Denver continues to muck up the game, right? They play slow. Both of these teams play slow. They play extremely slow. This was actually, game 2 was actually the slowest paced game. The game 2 of the finals was actually the Nuggets' slowest paced game of the postseason, and the second slowest pace game of the playoffs in general. So I do think that both teams continue to kind of mix it up. I expect Denver to play, much better defense as well, and not just have those lapses on the defensive end where you see guys slipping screens and two players kind of going with those guys. Michael Porter Jr. has received a lot of scrutiny and criticism, as he should have, but I do think that they get it together. KCP had a historically poor, uncharacteristic defensive game, and I don't see that happening again. So I do think that they figure those things out. And going back to the total, I think that it's an under game. I think Miami. I talked about it. Miami shot the ball historically well. One of four teams, like I said, in NBA history to shoot at least 48% from the 3-point line on 38, a minimum of 35 attempts in game number 2, and they still only scored 111 points. So if Miami's not making those threes, they're not scoring a lot of points. So I do like the under in this game. There's a lot of trends. I'm typically a big trend guy. Teams that lose game 1, teams that win game 1, they lose game 2, but are favorites in game 3. They're 9-6 to the under. That's 60%. So that's one thing that kind of backs the under. But I'm more so looking at the pace. This game, both of these teams were extremely efficient offensively, and I think looking at the offensive ratings, I think both teams play a little bit better defense. And specifically on Denver side, I think Denver plays a lot better defense as well. So I did play the under 214, a 1-unit play for me as well. Let's transition into props. So lot can be made here, man. Lot of stuff going on with these props. The one that I'm looking at and I'm probably liking the most, I'm looking at Jokic. Points prop opened at 27.5 on some books. It was juice minus 120, minus 125 at open. That number's all the way up to 28.5 now. A little bit of juice, but not too much. I like the 28.5 points for Jokic tonight. I think that the Heat will continue, like I was saying earlier, to kind of play him in single coverage with either Bam Adebayo, Cody Zeller, or Kevin Love. In order to keep, KCP and Porter and Gordon from scoring, right? A lot of what Spoelstra does is psychological as well, right? He understands that Michael Porter Jr.'s psychology needs to be tested. Let's see if we can find a way to get him off of his game. And if we can, what does that look like, right? So maybe if he's not able to score offensively, and some of the looks are just bad, he's just not getting great looks, but will he press the issue? Will he not now? Will he in turn take a contested 3-point shot versus because he's not able to get his attempts? They're doing a really good job of kind of blanketing him no matter where he goes. Will they do a better job of, just kind of guarding him, keeping a body on him, making him, take contested shots, making him take rush shots, and then how will that affect him on the defensive end? So I do think that, that game plan worked, and I think you continue to see that. In turn, I think Jokic goes over to 28.5 points because he'll get a lot of single coverage. The Nuggets are also now 0-4 in the playoffs in game where Jokic has 40 points or more. So I think that's extremely effective strategy. Why not keep it going if you're Eric Spoelstra? Why change up that defense? I will say this. Every game that Jokic has scored 40 points or more, he has come back and had double-digit assists in the next game. So we'll see what happens. Jokic, the 28.5 points that he set at, he's averaging that for in the playoffs at home. But on the road, it goes up. This dude is a monster on the road. 33.1 points on the road. So I like the 28.5 to go over. Also, I would play Jokic points, rebounds, and assists to go over as well. The only thing that scares me even a tad bit is that Spoelstra continues to put Jokic in a lot of pick and roll. And when you put him in a lot of pick and roll, it takes him out of position to be able to get those defensive rebounds. And that's part of the reason they want to do it as well. They know that the rest of the team can't rebound necessarily as good as Jokic. Jokic is an excellent rebounder. But I do think that because there are going to be a lot of missed shots on the Miami side of things, that Jokic gets his rebounds today. And I expect Mike Malone to be able to figure out the defense just a tad bit so that Jokic can find his guys and get other shooters involved as well. So I think Jokic over 50.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This line isn't juiced at all. I would be playing that as well. Dude's averaging 54 points, rebounds, and assists in road games. He's the only guy, honestly, him and Jamal Murray, that I trust to be able to, well, let's say this. He's the only guy I trust to be able to kind of leave it all out there. This dude's going to play extremely efficient basketball. He's shooting 60% on the road. He's shooting 52% from the three-point line on the road, and he's going to play 40 to 45 minutes tonight. I highly anticipate a big Jokic game today. Stars on the road, you typically want to rely on those guys, and I think Jokic wants to win. I think that he's going to do everything in his power to be able to win. Enough about Jokic, though. His points plus rebounds plus assists, I think, are all good looks. Moving along, Jimmy on the opposite side. If I'm playing Jimmy, I'm looking at his under, specifically on his points line. Under 25.5, this number is becoming juiced a little bit. I think a little bit of money is coming in on it. It wasn't minus 120 when it opened, but Jimmy to go under 25.5 points, minus 120. There was a quote that came out, I think it was yesterday during media day, where Jimmy said something along the lines that I know the key for this team to win is not for me to the key, one of the keys for the team to win involves getting everybody else involved, right? They're not going to necessarily win a lot of games where they have in the past, but Jimmy knows that when his shooters are knocking down three-pointers and Miami's, hitting 13 to 15 to 17 threes a game, they're a lot more efficient. And then you think about, Jimmy 21 and 13 points in the first two games. He's not extremely aggressive. He's trying to get into the paint and dish out to everybody. He has 9 assists, 7 assists in the first two games. And I think Bam has the best offensive matchup. So if I'm playing somebody points, which I'm not, but if I'm playing somebody points, I'm looking at Bam points to go over 18.5, over 19.5. He continues to have Jokic on him. He can go around him. He can shoot over top of him. Jokic continues to play off of him, so he can pull up. He's going to get a couple tip-ins a game. So I'm more so liking the offensive edge to go, to continue to stay with Bam. And I would look to play Jimmy under his 25.5 points. Couple other ones, Gabe Vincent, 13.5, 14.5 points is what I'm seeing him at. This dude's been fantastic through the first two games of the finals. Even on the road, he's been Miami's most consistent offensive threat from the perimeter, averaging 21 points on 55.6% shooting, 15 for 27 on shooting from the field, and 56% from the three-point line. 9 of 16 is Gabe Vincent. Posted a game high plus 22 in game 2 as well. So I think Gabe Vincent continues to keep it going. He's going to be out there. He can play defense. You can't really move him around too much as long as he's not trying to guard Aaron Gordon, of course. And on the offensive end, this dude is taking on the challenge. He understands he needs to step his game up, and he's able to get to his pull-up. We know that he can shoot the ball extremely quick, so it doesn't take long for him to score. And also floater game. He can score all three different levels as well. So I'll be playing Gabe Vincent over the 13.5, 14.5 points. But that's how I'm kind of looking at the game today, man. Let me know what you guys are looking at. All of the best bets that I just kind of talked about are at the bottom officially. These are my official plays for the game. Denver first quarter minus the half a point. Denver first half minus the half a point. Denver full game minus the 2.5. The under 214.5. I also played Denver minus the 4.5 as well for a little bit of plus money there. If I'm playing props, I'm looking at Jokic over 28.5 points. I'm looking at his over 50.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And I'm also looking at Jimmy Butler under 25.5 points. Gabe Vincent probably go over. I didn't talk a little bit enough about Jamal Murray, but I do think that he continues to. I think he bounces back. He didn't play bad. But, a lot of what he did in the fourth quarter with them down by, 10 points at the end was a bunch of let's just say his box score looked a lot better based on the fourth quarter in just a few minutes. He was missing a lot of shots, and I expect him to bounce back as well. Denver absorbs the punch, and they punch back today is how I'm seeing the game. Best of luck to you guys on all your action. Let me know what you guys are playing as well. Best bets for you guys. If you appreciate the video and, the content, the analysis, hit the like button for me, send the video to a friend, tell them let's make some money today in game 3, man. Best of luck to you guys tonight. Crispy Cap'n Show is live on Twitter and on YouTube, 5:30 Eastern time today. Let's get to it, man. Best of luck to everybody tonight.